it was difficult because I didn't get exactly kind of what I wanted. So at this point, like doing research has been great. I've been covering the space for some time, but not 20, 30 years ago. So being able to quickly get key information about it, about different products and different things like that, and then being able to do further research, that has been really helpful.
Hi, and welcome to Road to Revenue. I'm your host, Lee, and this is the podcast where we talk to creators to understand the bumps in the road, the twists, the turns on their own road to revenue. Joining me today, we have Maxim from MaxTech. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Super excited to have you here, and I've got tons of questions. But to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about what it is that you create? Talk to us about your channel.
Yeah, at this point, pretty much the full focus of my focus and my team's focus is a channel called MaxTech. So we cover a variety of tech, but it's heavily Apple focused, especially in the last couple of years, just because we enjoy most Apple products, and there's a lot of people out there that do as well. And with that, our focus is more deep dives, details, comparisons. So I guess I have a very analytical mind. So in previous YouTube channels that I've done, I would really get into the details that some people either they don't want to cover it or they can't get into the super fine things. So we'll dive in and we'll do, say, MacBook comparisons and not only run a few benchmarks, but we'll run real world tests for different types of creators and professionals. And that shows them, you know, should I spend $1,000 more on this upgrade? Or in certain cases, there's zero performance increases. They'll do nothing for them. And so we help people save money in that way. And then sometimes we get them to spend a little bit more money if it's really going to help them.
It's so challenging as a consumer out there trying to figure out what to buy, what not to buy, and you know where to invest the money. So it's a great. How did you get started? Can you talk us through a little bit behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first channel, just creating content, was just my name, Max Yuryev. And so I was getting into professional photography. So my wife and I, we were shooting weddings together, engagement shoots, family sessions, that kind of a thing. And I think my first video was a piece of gear. I don't remember what it was, but I was trying to look it up, look up some videos, reviews, and there was either nothing on it or just some really poorly made videos that didn't have much info. So I took the risk, I bought it, I used it, and I made a video just to help other people out that were in my position. And posting that, and all of a sudden I'm seeing some comments and I'm getting emails, people are subscribing. I'm like, why in the world are they subscribing? Like, why would they want to? And then so maybe a month later I made another video, and then over time it became twice a month and once a week. And then I remember I got I was able to monetize, and I think I got like $20 or something in a month, and didn't even get close to covering anything, let alone the time for making videos. But I'm like, wait, you could actually make a little bit of money. Then I learned about affiliate income, which is where you guys kind of come in. So started out as a hobby, and then maybe about a year and a half later, I started taking it a lot more seriously. And for multiple years, it was, I had a full-time job plus business, and then YouTube was still kind of like, when I have some time, I'll do some things. And here we are, about 12, 13 years later, where for the past, I would say 4 or 5 years, it's been my full-time thing, and I have a couple people working for me as well, helping out.
There is something that I think you share with other creators, certainly becoming an accidental creator. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's fair?
Oh, absolutely. Because especially back then, you had to be a little bit crazy to try to do that. I think a lot of us did it because we're passionate about something. We like doing it, and a lot of people, including myself, when we started, we did it because it was fun, because we wanted to help people. We didn't come into it like, hey, I'm going to start a channel and try to make an income on it. Now you can do it. It does take some time to build up an audience. You have to be consistent. You have to have content that is relevant and people want to watch, or it's helpful to them. So there have been people that started with the goal of, hey, I'm going to make this my business, but it takes a lot of patience, and it takes time, of course. So if you have to devote time while you're not making money at first to invest to make some income later down the line. So I think because of that, a lot of people have just stumbled into this and had it be accidental.
that's a long time for things to have changed as well. Take me back there. What was the equipment? What was the gear that you were using back then?
Oh, what was I using?
Do you even remember? Yeah.
I know we had we had Canon 5D Mark IIs. We started out with a Canon XSI, which was like an entry-level camera when we started doing photography, and I don't even remember if that even had video. I don't think it did. So it was very basic stuff, and some of my old videos, they're still on my Max Yuryev channel. So you go back there, and for me, it's kind of scary to watch some of those. But also at the same time, the gear was worse, so it was a lot more difficult to create content. We've had so much innovation. It's so much easier and cheaper to do things now, and the quality's better. But at the same time, the expectations are a little bit better as well, or a little bit higher compared to back then. People were okay with lower quality video in a way. And then, of course, now we have the whole shorts revolution where even major companies are choosing to record things on a cell phone for marketing purposes because it comes off more genuine compared to using crazy camera setups. It was definitely a lot harder to get into and a lot more expensive than what you could do now.
Over the years then, has there been, do you remember some of those real kind of leaps forward, those milestone moments in swapping from either different pieces of gear or maybe different technology? Yeah,
I mean, for me, my first main channel was on the photography and video side. So I'm heavily into that part, and obviously in the computer space now, so I covered some computers back then on the channel. And for me personally, Panasonic GH4s came out. I bought 4 of them, so that's what allowed us to shoot 4K. So that helped out. Microphones got a lot better. They got smaller for wireless mics, more reliable. When I was shooting weddings before, you would never know, is my audio working? Did the DJ go change something? And all of a sudden, all my audio's gone, and you're out recording video when you have some audio, microphone's hooked up. So that was very hard. Now we have 32-bit flow. I mean, I can get into a bunch of technicals, but basically kind of like raw audio, so you don't have to worry about it. It's going to sound good. Here in the studio, stuff's a lot more reliable. I used to have cameras overheating, recording in 4K, certain brands. And so you'd record a video, you saw it shut off halfway, so you're reshooting that again. Editing, there we didn't have as much tools. When I got a server set up, and when we were all able to access the same central storage of files, that really sped up our workflow. And then setting up a studio with the same exact cameras, same lighting, sped things up as well. So I think a part of it was not only the quality and that kind of stuff, it was just the workflow to be able to create. I think we average, typically we have 6 videos and certain times 7 videos a week. So we're pretty much creating a video a day that we're posting up. A lot of it's just efficiency, and you want to mix having good quality with good content, but also an upload schedule that helps you grow. Because unfortunately, that's one other thing that's changed. Back when I started, you can make a video a month and have decent growth, and then slowly over time it became, when I would do consultations with people and companies, you want to do 1 a week. At this point, if you could do 3 videos a week, that's better. Of course, that's not possible for everybody, but if you do want to optimize for growth, it is more of, to make the algorithm happy, you want to be posting more often.
That frequency, that consistency, you seem to have stripped out a lot of the variables and really reduced the variation in your workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, being a creative and getting into this as as a hobby and enjoying it, in a way there's a downside to it, because when you have more time and you're focusing more, doesn't mean that the video is going to be more valuable to somebody. But it'll be more creative. You might get some more interesting shots and that kind of stuff from a creator perspective. So now, a lot of the variables have went away. We've optimized workflow. For me as a creator, I'm I wish I could go back to spending a lot more time on the videos, and I could, of course. But then also looking at the other side where it's hey, we're providing a value for people, whether it's entertainment value, whether it's buying decisions. A new product comes out, they're waiting to buy, and they're waiting on our videos to help them, and it can make a massive shift in what they're buying, or even if they get something. At that point, you think of it from the other perspective of hey, we're offering this service and this help and value to people. So it's trying to find a good balance of something that's fulfilling, that you enjoy and has creativity, but also not spending weeks on a video, at least for our sake, to put it out.
And how do you find that balance? Because that's got to be tough.
It's very tough. I don't know if I can answer that question. Well, it's hard because what we realize is that in certain cases, especially when a new product launches and people are waiting for it to be covered, sometimes if I wait an extra day, then the video will get half the views. So then it's dictated by the algorithm. So of course there's a lot of competition, which is good. Competition is good for for people, and it pushes us. So if I don't get a video posted, or if I delay things, then there's going to be 10, 20, 50 other videos out. And then from the financial perspective, well, if your video gets less views, it comes out later, well, now you're not going to be ranked for SEO. So, half a year down the line, when somebody searches for something, you might be on the second page, third page, or a lot of scrolling, and then the video just won't become a long-term evergreen video, which is something that we've kind of focused on, because that helps provide a steady income. Even when, we have times where there's new product launches, and then we have in-between periods where things slow down, having that consistent income coming in from old videos that are still getting views and they're, get good search and ranked, that helps us to be able to do what we do without, having them lay people off and, do things like that. So just being able to financially to keep doing this and paying for costs and products and that kind of a thing.
So how did you, because you've talked around quite a few disciplines there and skills that you've had to pick up. How did you approach that at the beginning? Because it's quite a mountain to climb.
Yeah. A lot of it was just experimenting, honestly, over so many years. And so I would say the first 5 or so years, it was not kind of like it wasn't a full-time thing. It wasn't even, you have a job, then you have the side business doing photography, video, and then I would fill in extra time with this. So at that point, it didn't really matter that much because you have other income sources, and so you're making a little bit of money, and I think the affiliate part was good, especially for that channel. But I think once you step into a full-time role, you have more time to dedicate to that. So you're looking at your analytics. You're looking at, hey, I did this video. The previous one did better. You're looking at your watch-through rate, where people are leaving, right? You're looking at some of the competition. Their video got way better views, not from a point of like, oh, this sucks, my video's not getting views, or jealousy, anything like that. But like, if their video did a lot better, there must be a reason. Are they providing a better value for people? Are they, doing a better job? What part of it goes into it? So it's a lot of experimenting, looking at analytics, and not only being active as a creator, like, hey, I'm going to make a video, then I'm going to work on the next one, but also kind of taking a wider look, and stepping back and taking a wider look at, the business and the content you're making, and, not just being in the weeds making content, but trying to analyze what's going on, which videos did well, why did they do well. It applies to other aspects too. If you're writing articles, if you're doing podcasts, this one did way better than this one. Why was it? And sometimes you can look at it and say, hey, I put more effort in this. I did a better job writing. I had a very long intro here where people can leave to watch another video. And you're not only optimizing, hey, I want to get more views, I want to make more revenue, but even in just the interests of the viewer, if you're spending a bunch of time talking about random things, you're kind of wasting their time in a way. And I know myself, I love YouTube. I've done a bunch of remodeling in the last year, and most of the stuff I did, I learned from YouTube. So going into a video, I appreciate people caring about what they're making, and in a way, if you're helping somebody, you want to be, I guess, respectful over time as well. So it actually helps everybody if you care.
Have you seen that really explode?
I think it's raised in every perspective, and I think one thing that's had an effect is short form content. So you have TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and so looking at that content, people had to be respective of time, because at a certain point it was limited. Okay, you got 60 seconds. So we need to pack in a lot in the 60 seconds. So then you're optimizing for that. And then the consumer also gets kind of used to it. Hey, I could watch a 60-second clip. They gave me a lot of great info, showed me how to do this in that time. And then you're going to go and watch a YouTube video doing the same amount of helpful content in 10 minutes. So I think that part of it has raised the standards on the consumer side. Also, for us, we've had to get better. So if people were okay watching a 15-minute video before, now they're not. So part of it is they could skip through your video, which might be okay, or they're just going to go click on another one. And I've seen myself personally, I'm looking up a video, how do I do this plumbing thing? And so YouTube, I search it, I get a list of, the first 10 that are visible. I see a 3-minute video, then I see a 10-minute video, and I see a 20-minute video. So I'm going to click on the 3-minute video to try to see that. And you may have seen this before, but you can actually just, if you type something into Google, they'll recommend videos as well instead of just articles. And they actually will put little timestamps in there, or like a section, like, hey, from a minute and a half to 2.5 is what you're looking for in this video. So even YouTube themselves know that that's going to help the person. It's going to be a good experience for them. That is going to help with revenue, because then they're going to be watching it, they're engaging in it, there's probably advertisements in there, and then that's helping the creator, because if they do have a long video that has a bunch of blabbing for the first 3 minutes in the video and then who knows what else, it still lets their video be watched, but in the section that the person's actually looking for. So I think everybody's kind of optimizing for that, and even though as creators it could sometimes not be so fun if you're used to creating longer form stuff. You have your own style, but in general, I think it is better for everybody.
I think the guiding principle, isn't it, of Google is delivering exactly what the searcher is looking for, and it's certainly seeing the improvements in the rich results has been incredible. Have you been leveraging some of those, trying to leverage the rich results by changing how you're producing the content? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I guess I want to add in one thing, because if, I keep mentioning being more efficient, maybe having shorter videos. It really depends on also what you're doing, because we have a lot of videos we're trying to optimize it. We write a script and then we can go through and like, hey, this is too long. How can I restructure this to get the same info but take out unneeded things, or sentences that are too long, and optimizing that way. But we also have videos that comparing two MacBooks, and those could be 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long, which is like, that's a lot of time to invest sitting and watching. But we've actually experimented and like, hey, let's do a version where we're cutting out this and this, or make it much quicker. Let's make it 10 instead. And then the video actually doesn't do as well. So even depending on the content, because then I guess people are looking for a lot more detail. It is entertaining in a way, because it's all like they're sitting there with us as we're doing things. And then you have videos of people hiking for an hour and it's peaceful, and people will watch those kind of videos. So it depends on the content. And as far as leveraging those kind of things, we definitely have. I mean, one thing we've implemented in a lot of our videos is the timestamps that you could put in. And I remember when YouTube just made that feature, I was very hesitant. I'm like, that's just going to make people skip through big chunks of our video, because now they easily can. And then it's going to lead to lower watch time and things like that. So we actually did A/B testing. We would go into a video that's getting consistent search, put in the timestamps, wait a week, compare analytics, that kind of a thing. And ultimately ended up working out. And then that also helps YouTube know what the sections are, what we're talking about in the sections for SEO. We've also put in our own captions instead of the auto-generated ones, which YouTube will make, and they use that also for search. But if you as a creator are uploading it, that means you vetted it, that means it's more accurate. It's going to help Google and YouTube do a better job at recommendations. We've restructured the way we do certain videos and maybe put more interesting, relevant stuff up front, sometimes even though we normally would do it backwards. because we know halfway through the video, half of the audience is going to be gone. The people that are really dedicated, that are really interested, they will still watch. So even if the maybe less interesting things are later on, or the stuff that's at least less interesting for the general person that's not really going to buy this more for entertainment, we can restructure that to help, to help the overall performance of the video and the experience.
And that makes a lot of real sense. And I don't say that lightly. It's a really sensible approach. It's meeting the audience where they are with the length of video, with the type of video, with the degree of content, and actually it makes me. You've actually brought to mind there's a saying in the newspaper world, "Don't bury the headline," and it feels like there's a congruency there.
Yeah, definitely, because I think in that way, like if you're trying to look for something, you're just going to leave or stop reading or switch over. At least the way I see it, and I know. One thing that we also try to do in the video world is, we have this whole topic of clickbait, and people are getting tired of it. And there's a lot of clickbait, which is actually clickbait where the title has nothing to do with the video. It's not even in there. It's very exaggerated. So, and then there's also clickable, which is what we like to call it, because especially in the last couple of years, if you're in the YouTube space, the algorithm has shifted a lot. I remember you wouldn't really know the long-term results of a video until like after the first 24 hours. Then it got quicker. Now in the first half hour, YouTube already knows how much it's going to push it. And based on what we're seeing on the back end, we can kind of estimate the overall results. Is going to be like successful videos that are going to rank in the first 30 minutes. And so if your core audience isn't clicking on that video in the first half hour, then it's not going to recommend it to a bunch of other people. So they really care. And why would your audience click? I mean, the thumbnail has to be good. The title has to be good. So you have to make it clickable. And I've seen multiple big channels with multi-million subscriber counts where they didn't change or optimize, and they went from multiple, 2 million, 3 million views per video down to 20,000 because they kept the titles very simple like they used to, very simple thumbnails, longer videos. They're not their upload schedule is similar compared to what it was years ago. And so, it's kind of sad to see that. So YouTube is forcing people to make changes in that way, and so you kind of have to, but also with that whole clickable title, you don't want it to be clickbait. So a lot of times what we'll do, like, don't bury the headline, we will, we have some kind of a title, and as soon as you get into the video, we talk about that, or at least reference it, so they know, hey, that's not clickbait, this is the topic they're covering, or they're going to talk about it. Or if we have some kind of like a crazy discovery in a video, we'll actually put a little clip as a hook in the beginning, one, because it's interesting and but it hooks people. But two, they know, hey, that is real. What was in the thumbnail, that is going to happen in the video. So it kind of solidifies that as well.
And have you seen a big change in terms of the autoplay making a big difference in those those first seconds?
I think it's good. Honestly, I don't know if it's made a difference as far as like video performance. I mean, we have. One thing we kind of focus on too is within the first 30 seconds, you want it to be very quick, very engaging, lots of nice B-roll shots. You want to kind of hook the audience, because it's very important how many people stay within the first 30 seconds. And you would be surprised, like if you go on the back end and see, hey, half the people leave in the first 30 seconds, or 30% of people leave. So you want people to stay. And sometimes people click by accident, or whatever happens, but sometimes they get into a video like, hey, this is not what I was kind of expecting, and they'll go watch something else. So with the autoplay, it's been weird, because sometimes, like especially in the beginning, we'd see, hey, it's just autoplaying the beginning. Sometimes I've seen random stuff, even with the description. Now YouTube's try to optimize it, instead of just having the first 2 or 3 lines of text show up in search, it's just grabbing something else. Because obviously they're changing it, because creators are putting in affiliate links or sponsorship links there, and they're like, hey, that's not relevant to the audience. So sometimes it's a little bit weird, but I think it is good to give people a little kind of preview of what is in the video. And I guess in that way, if they see a preview of it, they're like, hey, that is what I'm looking for, they'll click in, and then that lowers the chance that they're going to leave in that first 30 seconds. And then so after that, the first half of the video, we'll put a good amount of focus on editing. And then the second half of the video, we put, not that we do a bad job, but we're less picky with how much B-roll has to be shoved, packed, switching shots every 3-4 seconds, because those people already, they're committed. They've, maybe longer attention spans. They're very interested in the topic. So you don't have to be constantly trying to keep their attention at the back end. And that helps with the amount of videos you can create too. If you could be a little more lenient and people are still going to get a lot of value, it's still going to be good for the people that are staying through the whole video, that saves a little bit of time.
And there must be an element of almost audience fatigue if you keep the pace up the whole way through.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And that's been an interesting thing for us, because you see a lot of successful channels, especially with a younger audience. Like, everybody knows who Mr. Beast is. There's been other channels, couple people in the tech space that are doing editing that way, where it's constantly just bam, 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 effect, a sound effect, video effect. And for me, I'm like, I can't handle watching that for very long. Of course, with a younger audience, maybe they're used to it, and that's sad in a way, and they have to keep their attention. But I think it does it matters, your age, kind of the topic. And so we've had conversations about that. Hey, do we add more effects to try to, hold people's attention more? What is too much? And I've heard a couple creators that say, hey, I'm going to step back a little bit because I'm trying to target an older audience now, whereas they did a lot of that and it was great for views, but then you're targeting a younger audience. And then, obviously this is a podcast with Genius Link. One thing that I've noticed, comparing my previous channel, which was in the camera space, photography, video, you have an older audience there, and that audience has money to buy things, and they want to buy things. Whereas now with the tech space, we have a little bit of a younger audience, so they have less money to spend. And then, of course, then you go into like a Mr. Beast, which is an even younger audience. So, of course, he's making great money, but on the affiliate side, you have a lower conversion rate, things like that. So, and of course, with him, he was very smart. He has Mr. Beast, his candy bars and different products. And then, then that's where you get the parents to buy it for you on something like that that's not too expensive, that you can actually purchase. And, I've bought them for my kids, and we've enjoyed them. So.
Yeah, and it is really interesting because knowing your audience is super, super key, isn't it? It's like how do you keep track of your audience? How do you make sure that you're delivering to them in the right way?
That is a very good question. I mean, on the YouTube analytics side, it will give you information on, a lot of demographics, a lot of, the ages, things like that. Other stuff with that is, maybe doing a little bit of research, just thinking about it, with the way you're editing. And we do put a good amount of B-roll shots in, but we don't do overly we're not adding sound effects and flashes and anything like that. It's very clean, nice edits. If there's B-roll, it's supporting what we're talking about, shots of the product. So that's kind of what we've done. So I think a lot of it might be experimenting, and it's hard at first too, because when you're building up a YouTube channel, or if it's YouTube or a podcast or a website, you're just kind of doing maybe what you want to do, or you're trying to do what somebody else is doing. If somebody's successful, you look at them, what's working, what's not working. But then as you build it up over time, if you start with those kind of editing styles, you're naturally going to attract a younger audience, and then your channel will kind of be built up in that way. And the thing is, it's hard to shift. And we've seen a couple channels shift the way they were doing things, and then you have viewership that just falls off and stops watching because of it. So I've seen a couple channels do it successfully, where they have shifted their target audience, but it takes a long time. And it is a sacrifice, because your views go way down for a while until YouTube and the algorithm finds, hey, these videos are still great and help, relevant and entertaining, but it's for this other audience, and they'll start recommending it. So, overall, I think it's hard to figure out what you're doing. I think my biggest thing is, there's a lot of different successful businesses and creatives, and it doesn't mean you just go and copy them. But I like to take a look from from behind the scenes, not just watching, oh, this guy's successful, he's doing a good job, but, taking a step back and thinking, why is he successful? What is he doing that is, working properly? And, what would I want to do in a similar way? Or maybe look at a variety of creators if you're trying to get into the space. So when you start looking at 10 different channels or 20, you'll see, similarities, differences. Even sometimes reading through the comments, you can kind of tell the age of the people that are commenting, and, in that way. And then seeing kind of what you want to do, because it has that, you have to have that creative side of it too. You can't just do something just for success sake, because you're going to get burnt out on the long term. And another thing for us has been not only the age that you're trying to go for, but also where people are watching from. So like one thing we've optimized is for like posting time. We consistently post at 7 a.m. Pacific, which for us, our main viewership is in the United States. Our second biggest viewership is from India. So, a lot of people have came online there in the recent years. That's a good audience. The monetization isn't as high as far as, money from links and YouTube AdSense. But we've optimized to post. So like when we post, it's in the evening there and then in the morning here, which kind of worked out for us. And we've also noticed, if we post at 7 a.m. versus posting at 12, we'll get a lot more views initially, and then long-term it helps with search as well. Okay.
So you've talked a couple of times on little bits of revenue. What are your revenue streams? What do they look like?
Yeah, it has changed over the years. I would probably say right now we're probably 70% of our revenue is from working directly with brands, so probably 60 to 70%. And then we have AdSense, and then we have affiliate income with that. And one interesting thing, I guess I'll mention a couple of things. So previously it used to be much heavier on AdSense. We were not working with brands, and for years I actually said no to most brand offerings because my main goal was to scale the channel, this new MaxTech channel. Working with brands is great. For the brand, it's good because they could specifically target your audience. So because of that, they're paying more, but they're getting a better ROI instead of just going through, YouTube AdSense and things like that. And then they can work with the creator, and the creator is presenting their product instead of, just their own video. But it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, emails, shooting video, redoing things, and so that takes away from time to create content or the quality of it. So for a while, we were staying away from that until we kind of reached our goal, and then we switched over to that. Right now, AdSense is a lot lower than it was before, especially like with the economy right now. Brands are cutting their marketing budgets and things like that. So even with the same amount of views, AdSense has been going down. So that has kind of shifted. If we were talking a couple of years ago, AdSense would have been the biggest one. So thankfully, we've really leaned into the brand partnerships, and that has helped out tremendously. And I'm definitely glad we did. On the affiliate side, so the one interesting thing I referenced, the demographics and the age. Back when I was doing my camera channel, which I haven't posted there in probably about 2 years, because I went from doing multiple things to like, hey, we want to do a video a day on MaxTech and grow into this space, which is a lot bigger than the camera space. The affiliates was my biggest revenue source. And once again, it's because you have an older audience, and their products are a lot more expensive, and people are going out and they're buying a camera for a couple $1,000. They're going out and buying a lens for $1,000, $2,000, $500. And so even though my audience was a lot smaller, I would say the AdSense, or not the AdSense, the affiliate income was similar to what we are now. And we get a lot more views now, and we get, our channel is a lot bigger. So that's one thing to think about. If you're a creator that wants to enter a space, you could have a channel that has 50,000 subscribers, say, for example, or, TikTok or Instagram or, some kind of thing. You can have a much smaller audience, but depending what audience you're targeting, you could still make an income off of that, and you might be able to make a really good income off of that. So one thing that kind of changed my mind years ago was a book called Crush It by Gary Vee. And the main takeaway from just that book was he referenced a couple different examples where this person loved knitting. I think it was knitting or crocheting. And so they started a blog about crocheting. And sure, if you were in a smaller town, you can't make a living doing that most likely. But because of the internet, you know, if you look all across the globe, there's enough people that have a really good interest in that. And so you can make a good living creating content for a very small audience, but you're targeted, it's specific. And and in that case, with affiliate income, it helps out a lot too, because people are going to be buying products and that kind of thing. So I would say, like, as a recommendation, don't feel like you need to have some massive channel to make a living off of YouTube or off of another space. Depending what you want to do, it could be possible for with a lot smaller audience.
And so as you grew and revenue changed, right, and different streams kind of ebbed and flowed and got to the point where you started growing, and it's been a number of years that you've had a team now. What was it like at that point where you made the decision to grow the team? What did that look like?
It was scary in a way. I never thought I would do that, and even now we don't have a big team. I know channels similar size that have double the people, but just knowing that if I do want to scale it bigger, I'm going to need help. You can't do everything yourself, and I think a part of it is, of course, on the income side. So personally, one thing I try to do is I got a client that we were creating content for, and I gave him a good discount as long as we create at least 4 videos a month. And so I was trying to preload to make sure I have consistent income to pay somebody, and then it was a risk to hire somebody on. So a part of that, so that was a little bit challenging. So you want to make sure you can pay them, because it does take time to train and to build up your income higher. But once time goes on, it helps out, because now you have 2 people that can work and make stuff happen. And then, take another step after that. So I've been very careful not to overhire, and maybe in certain cases it would have been better to have more people. But then you're stepping into from just a creative role to a manager role and everything that comes with that. Another part that a lot of creatives have a hard time with, and I know on YouTube there's certain people that are just business people, and there's certain people that are just really creative people. But as creatives, and coming from the photography, video, where it's just that space, we have a hard time letting go of control. And it's hard to say, hey, I could do this, is not going to be the way I want it to be. In the beginning, you could do it faster and better than having somebody else do something. But one really cool thing is just seeing, as you're letting go of control, that person gets better at it. And there's certain things that now some of my guys, they're faster than me and they're better than I was. When it wasn't that case, they're adding their own creativity. And so, knowing that is going to happen, and also giving them the creative control too. And I think that might be the hardest thing, where you had the idea in your mind how you want something edited, and you can give tips and stuff like that. But at a certain point, if you're going to keep saying, no, I don't like that, change it this way, and just micromanaging it, then that kind of kills their creativity and their excitement in being a part of the process. So letting it go of control and just saying, it's okay. It's not just me now. They're part of the process and part of the creativity, giving them that freedom and being okay with it. And it's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But if you wanna be able to hire people and have a successful business, you have to be willing to do that.
And what do you think are some of the things that happened, or what was unlocked that you weren't expecting when you took people on?
trying to think about what I wasn't expecting. I mean, the one thing for sure, like I just mentioned, having somebody that they're helping out with something and they're not confident in their skills, and it's not working out very well, and then over time now they're faster and better than you and more creative, and it's great for them because they're proud of their work and what they're able to do. It's great for the business. So that's a part of it. And for many years, I was the fastest editor, and the editor we hired was a lot slower. And then seeing, after a couple years where that person can edit way faster than I can, and they're doing a great job and they're happy with what they're doing, that's a very cool, exciting thing to see that I was not expecting. And then, of course, new ideas and fresh ideas, because starting out, too, it's like you're the one telling people, hey, we should do this, we need to do that, the creative side, and then try to get them to execute on that. But then having people bring in their own ideas, video topics, editing ideas, all that kind of stuff, and seeing that creativity come through and actually helping the business. And not only helping the business, obviously that helps provide a job for them and income, but also, it's good for everybody, and it's better for the viewers. Another thing I've done is not just straight hourly, whereas helping some of the people that are driven, if they have a better incentive, so having like a profit sharing structure, that's another thing that really helped propel the business. Whereas when you're just on hourly, you come in, you do what you need to do, and you come out. But then when they have some skin in the game, and if they care more and they put in more effort, then they get rewarded more. So that helped propel the business as well, because it doesn't work for everybody, but for for a lot of people, they'll care a lot more about it. And then of course your profit sharing, but it helps raise the quality of the content and helps raise the income in the business as well. So that's something that has been good.
Speaking with your fellow creators, do you feel that's a common approach?
I don't think so. At least the people I spoke to, I don't think so. Because, I mean, in a way, it might be scary because you're like, hey, I'm giving away a lot more money. It could be in that sense. And so, and with one person that worked here before, that didn't really work out because it's just not their style. They want to be able to just come in and go, and so it's a personality thing. But there's not a lot of people that have done it that way in our field that I have talked to. I know in a lot of corporate businesses where you have managers or executives, a lot of their income is based on the performance of the company. So they're getting stock options, and then those get executed and they're getting bonuses. So seeing that kind of a thing in those fields and how it does work is something cool to see. So yeah, I don't know how many other people do things like that, but it's worked out. It's worked out for us. Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant approach. I think it makes a lot of sense. And like you say, they have some skin in the game. Then there's a real incentive, and not just a real incentive, but a greater appreciation for the successes. I think is probably also true, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So you are totally invested in YouTube, right? Like absolutely, you've got that really locked down. Can we talk about some of the other platforms though as well?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So walk us through. You made the shift from your longer form, producing shorts now. TikTok is giant out there, right? What's your take currently?
I think we need to do better there. For us, where we don't have a heavy focus on it right now, we did spend about 9 months posting very consistently. We had some success, but at that point, the ad revenue that you could get there was nothing, at all, compared to YouTube. And then I did hire somebody that would remotely go and edit some content and stuff for that. So we did build up some audience. We've done some smaller partnerships on there, but what we found is that for us it was like another distraction. So, and that's a hard thing, and I don't know if we're doing the correct thing. So we would take time and take our minds off of regular YouTube, because it's different, creating shorts versus long form. It's a whole different process. And so we've scaled back off of that, and there's been some changes since we have, like TikTok has a whole shopping feature now with affiliate income that I've seen recently, a few different videos on that where people are doing really well. So it's probably a good time for us to kind of revisit it, do some research, and figure that part of it out and kind of see what we could do there. For us, it's been a little interesting because we grew really quickly on YouTube with this new channel. We started it from scratch, and I've had, I think, like 3 or 4 different channels. But the reason we did is because our full energy was in it, like our full effort. I stopped doing anything else. So that allowed us to do that, to have that really, really laser focus. But then you do need to invest in other areas too. So with that, just like starting up, a YouTube channel, you have to start and you have to just keep creating content and building up an audience, and it takes time. So definitely there are people successful there, especially people that are really bigger. Like they have a really good audience, and it's a different way to monetize compared to what a lot of people do on YouTube. And it's good as well. I am a little bit split personally on short form content because it sucks you in and it steals so much time. And I know for myself, I try not to watch a lot of it because just the way it's designed and the platforms are designed, it's just, even the UI is so easy to just go to the next video, and it's so easy to find yourself. You open up, one video, then bam, 20 minutes later, you realize, hey, I just spent 20 minutes watching these random videos that might have been entertaining, didn't give a lot of value to my life or anything. And yeah, and then, for me, it's 20 minutes. I know some people for hours will sit there throughout the day watching a random video. So I think from one way, I'm like, if I do something, I still want it to be helpful and beneficial to people's lives and not just random entertainment. Not that entertainment is bad. We all need our, whether it's video games or sports, different hobbies and a way to de-stress and things like that. But yeah, that's my own kind of a thing where I'm a little split based on what we want to do. But you also don't want to get stuck, doing one thing and not investing in, other opportunities and platforms, 5 years down the line, and you haven't changed what you're doing. So it's a little bit of a tough dilemma for me.
And well, you've definitely given us a really good a really good piece of content that I think we can get a really good solid short out of that and be able to share it, talking about short form content. So what about the other channels? What's your take there?
So we're not heavily invested in Instagram. We were doing some stuff before, and unfortunately it kind of shifted over to basically like a copy of TikTok, because they have to compete. And talking to other people that are still trying to create regular posts and share their incredible photography and their art, they are very frustrated because now they're getting like a 10th of the engagement on their posts compared to what they got before, just because Instagram and Meta, they're pushing short form content, short form video. And so some of them have been successful in repackaging their photos into video form to get that to continue viewership. But talking to some of these people, they're just very frustrated, even if they're successful, because they're like, hey, this is a photo platform. I'm a photographer. I'm a creative. I'm doing this. But now it's all short form video that's being pushed. That's what the algorithm is wanting. So now I'm creating videos out of my pictures, and there's certain issues with that. So that part of it has been interesting. Of course, even on Facebook, they're pushing their short form video. I use Facebook a lot for groups. So I have certain different interests and things I'm doing, and it's pretty much like forums. I mean, the forums still exist, but there's plenty of groups where there's a lot of great information and things. So, but I go into my feed and it's like, bam, look at these videos, they make you want to click them. Then bam, you scroll a bit more, another set. Even on YouTube, where even if you're trying to not watch shorts, they're just popping up. They're trying to default to that, try to get you to be engaged, because it's just a massive race against TikTok, basically, is what's happening. So, yeah.
So what are you looking forward to then? And whether it be the platforms or maybe some of the really interesting tech that you expect to come out in the next 12 months, what is it that you're most looking forward to?
I'm not sure about in the next 12 months. Of course, there's a lot of Apple products coming out, and so we can talk about those things. But have you experienced the Vision Pro, the Apple
Not
Vision
yet.
Pro? No,
Not
but
yet.
you've probably seen content on it. I know it blew up on short form like crazy, and that is very interesting to me. I've spent the last 2 weeks, making content on it, using it, and we've had VR headsets for a long time, and Apple has been very careful never to call this VR. They're calling it the spatial computer. But it's still, I feel like this is the point where it's really going to launch off. We're going to need something more of like eyeglasses, or sunglasses, something smaller form factor. But the whole experience is nothing like what we've had before. Whereas you have really good high-quality pass-through video, people can see a version of your eyes, the interaction is completely different. There's a lot of things that are just completely impossible without it, putting windows and applications to different places and pinning them. And also, interestingly, being able to use certain things without being too distracted. Like, I've used it at home, and at first I thought, it might be weird. I'm wearing a headset, and I own a couple Quests, and I don't use them often, because if I'm having time with the family, if I put that thing on, I'm like in a whole other world. I'm not with them. Yeah. Whereas with Apple's version, with the good pass-through, they can see, my eyes or the fake eyes. I can still talk to them, and bam, I get a text in or a notification. I just see it. I can quickly reply to it. And I've actually found that I'm more engaged. Not that I'm wearing this thing all the time, but I did a video where it was like a whole day using it. So that kind of was interesting for me, where instead of pulling out my phone, looking at my notification, texting back, it just made the process very smooth and quick, and I felt like I was less distracted than using my phone, having that thing on. So I think that's what I'm really looking forward to. I don't know how it will change like content, as far as like, okay, you're going to be opening up Facebook or watching YouTube videos. But in general, the way we use tech, I think that's a massive revolution that's going to be coming, and that part is going to be very interesting to me. So that's what I've just been spending a lot of time thinking about lately. I know we're a little ways off, but with Apple launching this and with how well this launch did, it did a lot better than I expected. It's going to become normalized, and I was on a different podcast talking about this, where there's a little bit of like hesitancy or this weirdness, like, hey, people are going to be walking around with headsets on, or hopefully, like smaller versions or eyeglasses. Like, that's going to suck, dystopian future kind of stuff. But then I take a step back and I look at, before there weren't phones. Now people are out using their phones, and then you have like these posts like, man, this is a sad world, especially when you see a video, everybody's on their phone. So I think with the headset, it'll be better in a way. You're like looking up, or, we have an Apple Watch, you get a notification, you can look if you want to ignore it. But then I just mentioned, sometimes if I'm talking to somebody and, I get a notification, like, I don't want to look down, because, it signifies, hey, you're not interested, you want to leave, something like that. So it's going to be interesting. We had a time where with AirPods, if you were walking around or with a Bluetooth headset and you were talking, you were so weird. Like, people look at you, what, you have, or, you're talking to somebody. Now it's normalized. Somebody's talking, yeah, they're probably just on a phone call. Or, when the originals came out, people are like, oh, you have, like a little toothbrush head sticking out of your ears. And then it kind of became normalized. And then even like the Apple AirPods Max, they're massive. Like, nobody's going to go out in public with these massive things on. And it actually became like a fashion statement. I did a 1-year review of it, and that video did really well. Usually a year later, people don't care that much. But I looked at like the Google Trends and sales, and so at first they're kind of flat, and then they became like a fashion kind of statement. And now I see them quite often out and about. So there's certain things where, culture shifts and stuff like that. So, I definitely think that is going to be happening, and hopefully it's not for the worst.
No, and I think you highlight it's a really interesting angle that by like reducing the proximity, right? There was like making it almost part of us. Actually, it will open up our attention to what we're probably missing out on a bit right now.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and it's also kind of scary to think, oh, like this is a part of us. We're becoming a machine or something like that. And so some people said we don't want to do that. But then if you think about it, how many people leave their house without their phone nowadays? Like your phone is a part of you, and not only because you feel weird not having it or you can't do certain things. Like if you leave your phone at home, most likely you're going to turn back around if you're driving somewhere and go get it. So, and then also with that, there's so much now in the modern world that you can't do. You need an app, you need a web browser, you want to go pay for something, you want to register for something. Like try living without a phone. There are certain things that you just cannot do nowadays. And sometimes it's frustrating, but I guess that's just how it is.
So
I guess
that's
we are
hardware,
part of,
right? Like that's no. Like we are part of the kind of, it's this great leap forward again, isn't it? And we're talking. You're very much talking around the hardware side of things and how that's going to go. But I've got to ask the question: where are you with using AI at the moment?
It depends. We've covered it a lot. So where are we personally? We're kind of in the middle. So it's interesting because I've used like ChatGPT. I've used it for trying to write scripts, and it was difficult because I didn't get exactly kind of what I wanted. I ended up rewriting pretty much all of it. So at this point, like doing research has been great because so instead of me manually going through a bunch of pages, using it to be able to find out information. So I did one script for a video of like the ways Apple changed the world. I did a video on like failed Apple products that you probably forgot about or you didn't know existed. And then using that was incredible because, I've been covering the space for some time, but not 20, 30 years ago. So being able to quickly get key information about it, about different products and different things like that, and then being able to do further research, that has been really helpful. And then, of course, on the photography side, we're making thumbnails. A lot of the features we're using now, it's based on a sort of AI. Like we're not doing generated, we're not doing fully generated thumbnails, something like that. But just correcting things, stretching things out, filling things in. So I've been using Photoshop for, 12 years. It is so much better recently. Being able to just like, bam, I need more space over here. Bam, generate a fill. Done. And it works really well. We're removing things. It works so much better. So in the photography space, it's huge. On the editing space, it still needs a lot of work because that's a lot more difficult. And in one way, it's a part of that whole process we talked about before, of like letting go of your own creativity and stuff. So at a certain point, you might get to that. I've used some editing programs for personal videos where I don't care very much. I'm like, hey, I just shot a bunch of stuff. I want to get a short clip of this in order just to be able to watch it and enjoy it. And I'm okay with certain parts maybe not being there, but other parts that I don't want being there. It just saves so much time. But as on the professional front, we're not using anything like that. And then the whole thing, one thing that kind of annoys us, we just went to CES, and of course, AI is the buzzword for this year recently. Like everything had AI on it, and we were making jokes about it and stuff. And like we walk into a Samsung booth and like AI refrigerator, AI washing machine, and then I'm like, hey, how does this use AI? Just asking the guy. He's like, oh well, it knows if it needs to run your laundry longer. I'm like, yeah, but we had all that stuff before. It's just a sensor, like a sensor sensing how clean the water is or something. Of course, they have to just for marketing purposes because it's such a buzzword. So, but I mean, it's making really big changes. I have friends that are in other businesses that are using it to draft emails very quickly, very professionally, saving them a lot of time. And so a lot of that stuff's really kicking in. And I think if you don't start at least playing with it and using it, you might be left behind or be a lot less efficient. So you have to have attention towards, for what's happening right now.
And I think you're absolutely right that keeping pace with it is going to be absolutely key. As you've gone through and that seems to be one of the common themes, that as platforms have changed, obviously as all the tech has changed, you've really moved with it. Over that time, have you found there are some, I don't know, whether it's decisions or maybe some bad advice that people follow, or maybe some bad habits that you've seen over the years that you think actually you just wish that people wouldn't do that?
The whole thing of like, hey, you can't be successful as a YouTuber now. It's too late to start, right? Just a lot of doubt. Now, it might be more difficult in a certain way. You have more creators, but also if you have fresh ideas to bring into the space, I've seen channels blow up quickly because you're bringing something new to it. You're bringing your own creativity, your own perspective. The whole believing thing is huge. I know for me, until I didn't believe in myself and my ability to make an income as a creator for a while, and that stopped me from even trying it out or pursuing it. And of course, a lot of it is, if you believe in yourself, like, there's a stereotypical thing like with kids, oh, you could do anything you want, when you grow up or something like that. But for years, I stopped myself from doing something because I'm like, it's impossible, it's too hard, I'm not good enough, that kind of a thing. And that made a big impact on my life. And so when I switched and it clicked in my mind that like, hey, this is possible, that changed my whole world, because now I'm actually seeing, okay, well, what do I need to do to make it possible? So I think with anything in life outside even the creative space, if you don't think you can get fit and lose weight, you're definitely not going to. So a part of that is being positive. If you're just listening to a lot of negative people that are doubting you, and a lot of times, I think in any business and as creators, a lot of times it could be our friends, it could be our family, like, oh, you want to pursue this? You want to start making TikTok videos or shorts or YouTube or posts? Oh, that's a waste of time. It's never going to work. A lot of that negativity comes in, and that stops people from trying something. So I know for myself, my kind of outlook on it is, hey, if I really want to do something, it might be a little bit risky, it might take some time. It's better for me to try and fail than never try at all. But I think if you try and you fail, or you change your mind later or something like that, at least you tried to do it. Now, the opposite could happen. Like, you know what? I was doubting myself. I really wanted to, but I didn't. And then 10 years later, I know, at least for myself, I'm like, man, I regret not at least trying, or not, if this is a passion of mine, or I really want to do something. I think that part, that is important, I guess, as humans, as creatives. As far as other things, I mean, the kind of negative advice or bad advice that people have heard of, YouTubers have heard of. I mean, one thing is sad to kind of say, but we've had YouTube say, hey, you as a creator should take as much time off as you need. And creator burnout is absolutely real. But at the same time, I've seen people, take a month off, which is great. And this is, YouTube saying, hey, it's not going to hurt your performance. As soon as you're creating again, your stuff is going to go well. And I personally know multiple people who went and just took a month off, and then they go back, start posting videos. Now they're getting half the views or a quarter of the views. So I wish that wasn't the case, especially if Google, and YouTube was saying it's not going to hurt it. But then the people you're creating videos for in that time when you're not there, they are watching other content and they're getting their suggestions now instead, So I think it's hard because this is a very important part of being a creator. You have to do a good job. It is hard work. Even if people are like, oh, these social media influencers, they're just talking about random stuff, making money, whatever. There's a lot that goes behind the scenes, a lot of time and, business stuff that goes in. but you also need to be able to take a break. And I think we talked about teams and talked about hiring other people and how that changed things. I think it's another thing I just thought of, where if you're just doing everything yourself, good luck being able to take some time off. Unless, it depends on how much you care. If you're doing it as a hobby, or you're doing it as a part-time income, or you're just, you're content with making, reaching a certain goal and being okay there, I think that is great. But it's really nice to be able to have somebody else there that is part of a team. And what we have done for years now is we've structured like time off. So, we have slower periods, and we're like, okay, we're not all going to leave at the same time. But being able to have somebody else that's a part of it. So like on our channel, it's myself, and then it's Vadim. So we both host videos, and then we have a new person, Ben, that's going to go into that. So having that balance, so you can take some time off and not get burnt out, but also be able to keep creating content, I think is good. Yeah.
Hey, let's flip it. I mean, what's the best piece of advice you've actually been given?
I mean, there's a lot of very minor, like kind of smaller things, parts of editing, about thumbnails. The way, especially on YouTube, your thumbnail needs to stop people from scrolling, and then your title needs to get them to click in, and then that first short intro needs to get them to stay. You should have it reiterate your title and your thumbnail and solidify that it's not clickbait. Caring about, paying attention at least to analytics and taking a step outside of just what you're doing, creating videos, working on your business instead of just in your business. And that's what we've done a lot to be able to scale and to optimize, and optimize the income from the work that we do, and optimize for the value for the viewers as well. And I know this podcast is with Genius Link, and I'm surprised you haven't said anything about the Genius Link.
Our clients are the heroes, right? We just work under the radar. We just make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I'll add in, I started using Genius Link, I believe in 2016 or 17 or early 17. I went through my emails. The first one's from 2016.
Brilliant. And we've loved having you. You've been with us longer than I have, which is amazing. And we appreciate your loyalty. I think we have the best clients. So thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
Appreciate your kind words. Wow.
So, that is a part of working on your business, not just in your business, because you can create, a lot of great content, but then finding ways that you can really, increase your monetization from the same amount of work that you're doing, where you have links not just going out to the US version, but going out of Amazon, but going out to the other countries, helps your viewership, it helps you. And then the other tools that are built in, like being able to switch products later with that same link that's in a video that was posted 100 days ago, or if something needs to be swapped out, So that's a part of working on your business, not just in your business. Taking a wider look at the business, stuff that worked well, why did it work? Stuff that didn't work well, why didn't it do well? And not only for just success and making money, but also for the creator, for the viewer side of it. I think that part is important. I think a lot of people in businesses get stuck in the day-to-day, what they're doing, and seeing, hey, like you're doing this, which might be slowing you down, but you're not doing this. This could help. We're also talking to other creators and getting their input on what they're doing. So I guess that's a good piece of advice too, is not just being all by yourself. What we found is even with people that you would call our competitors in a way, like we've talked to a good amount of people doing a similar thing that we're doing. We're all friendly. We like each other. We get along. We've shared ideas. We've helped them out. They've helped us out. And it brings up the whole industry, instead of being like, hey, that's our competitor, I just got to beat them, or, I have to win, something like that. It builds everybody up. So being a part of a community and not being there alone. And there's also, there's groups for creators where it's like, you get to chat with people. That part of it has been good. And I think, like I shared earlier, letting go of control if you want to hire somebody on. I think that's a huge piece, especially if you want to scale your business outside of just doing something yourself, which I think is helpful for a lot of people, being able to let go of control and to hire somebody else on. And it's scary in a way because now you're maybe managing somebody else, you have to pay them. But I think in most situations, unless you go crazy, just having one other person that you're doing something with, not just being solo in your room, all the time, that is really good. And a lot of times that will actually, your income should go up to cover those costs and a little bit more. So I think for a lot of people, just for like mental health sake, it is good to have somebody else. So hopefully.
Absolutely. Do you know what? There's been absolutely incredible advice. There's like so much there. And you have been an incredible guest. You've been very gracious with your time, and I've loved hearing your insights and the knowledge that you've built up. Love the channel. You've been absolutely fantastic. Maxim, I've got one question for you now. Where's the best place? I think we know, but where's the best place to find you and connect with you?
YouTube. Yeah, mostly YouTube. Vadim posts a lot on X, so he's very engaged there. So talking to people, we also try to talk in the comments. But YouTube is our main kind of thing, and myself, especially lately, I'm trying to have a better separation between work and regular life.
Thank you again. You've been fantastic. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. I've been Lee, and this has been The Road to Revenue.